In a world where speed reigns supreme and performance is the vein of the automobile industry, a name that echoed through the ages emerged. This name invokes the thrill of the open road, the symphony of roaring engines, and the artistry of design. A name that changed the automotive scene forever, that burst onto the scenes with an audacity that defied convention. With a single stroke of genius, this name embodied a masterpiece that captivated hearts, ignited passions, and set the tone for a legacy that would endure for decades to come. A name that commanded attention with its seductive curves and rebellious spirit. A name that bore the weight of its predecessor's legacy, but carried within it a fierce determination to carve its own path. With a rear-mounted air-cooled engine and a silhouette that exuded confidence, this name demanded to be seen, to be heard, and to be reckoned with. This name belonged to the car that remained the standard for other cars for many decades. This name belonged to Porsche 911, and this is its story. Our story starts from the end of the Second World War. At that time, Ferdinand Porsche had just been released from his war crime charges and just made it home, where he met his son, Freddie. Dude actually named his son Barry, at the helm of affairs at his company. Together with his son, they switched the company from its focus on consulting and racing to production and began plans to produce their first vehicle. This vehicle used the same basic design that the Beetle used. This design was readily available because Ferdinand Porsche himself had designed the Beetle for Volkswagen, a company that would later own the Porsche brand, even though Porsche tried acquiring Volkswagen first. See, we know that seems very complicated, but trust us, the story is even more complicated than you can imagine, as it includes shady business deals and some next-level corporate wizardry. But that's not our focus today. Building upon this design, Ferdy and Ferry, please don't laugh, used a circular body, a flat 4-inline engine that was placed, wait for it, in the rear of the car. Yes, you heard that right. The engine of the car was placed at the rear. They called this car the Porsche 356. The 356 sold moderately. It wasn't that much of a success, but it was not a failure either. It was just there. Until 1951. In 1951, Porsche entered the 356 into the Le Mans race, and the car won. Remember the saying in America, whatever wins on Sunday, sell on Monday? Well, the Germans must have their version of that saying because right after its success at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the popularity of the 356 soared and became Porsche's flagship model. With this state of things, Porsche was encouraged to upgrade to the 356. For the upgrade, the flat 4-inline engine became a 6-inline, and the steering wheel gets better feedback from the tires. More than the new sporty feature, this new model was also designed with more practicality in mind. It came with 4 seats, meaning that you can actually fit a family into the car. The new model was dubbed the Porsche 901, but the name never stuck. Why? Because of Ferry's French friends. Yeah, a bit of a tongue twister there. Called Peugeot. The French car company opted against the name because, according to them, the company had already trademarked all 3-digit car names with a 0 in the middle. Seems weird, but true. So Porsche had no other choice but to switch from the 901 to the 911, and thus the Porsche 911 was born. The 911 debuted at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 1963 and hit dealerships about a year later. The 911 hit with a bang. It became an instant success. Despite having big shoes, or better put, tire tracks to fit in, the Porsche 911 became the company's best seller. It sold really fast despite having a price tag of $6,000. which in 2007 was worth about $50,000. This success endured for long because by the 1970s, Porsche was selling about 20,000 units of 911s per year. At the time, it was a huge success. Its air-cooled six-cylinder flat engine with 2-liter displacement delivered 130 horsepower, ensuring that this bad boy could zoom past the competition with a mind-boggling top speed of 210 kilometers per hour. But hey, let's not rush things. For the laid-back crowd, Porsche had a little treat in store: the 4-cylinder Porsche 912 from '65. It may not have been as ferocious, but hey, who needs all that power when you can cruise along savoring life in the slow lane? In 1966, Porsche presented the 160 horsepower 911S, which was the first to feature forged alloy wheels from Invokes. The 911 Targa, with its distinctive stainless steel rollover bar, made its debut in late 1966 as the world's first ever safety cabriolet. That's right, folks, Porsche wasn't just about power and speed. They were thinking about your safety too. The semi-automatic Sportomatic 4-speed transmission joined the lineup in 1967. Who needs all that hassle of manually shifting gears when you can sit back, relax, and let the car do the work for you? It's like having your own personal chauffeur, minus the fancy hat. And with the 911T and the later E and S variants, Porsche became the first German manufacturer to comply with strict US exhaust emission control regulations. The Porsche 911 became more and more powerful as displacement increased steadily, initially to 2.2 liters in 1969 and later to 2.4 in 1971. The 911 Carrera RS 2.7 of 1972, with a 210 horsepower engine and weighing less than 1,000 kilograms, remains the epitome of a dream car to this day. Its characteristic ducktail was the world's first rear spoiler on a production vehicle. The G-Series, 1973 to 1989. 10 whole years after its glorious premiere, the clever engineers at Porsche decided it was time to give the 911 a makeover like no other. And boy, did they deliver. Introducing the G model, a name that may not sound too fancy, but don't be fooled. It ruled the roads from 1973 to a whopping 1989. That's right, this baby outlasted every other 911 generation out there. It's like the Energizer Bunny of the automotive world, only cooler and way more stylish. It featured prominent bellow bumpers, an innovation designed to meet the latest crash test standards of the United States. Occupant protection was further improved by 3-point safety belts as standard equipment, as well as integrated headrests. One of the most important milestones in the 911 saga was the 1974 unveiling of the first Porsche 911 Turbo with a 3-liter 260 horsepower engine and enormous rear spoiler. With its unique blend of luxury and performance, the Turbo became synonymous with the Porsche mystique. The next performance jump came in 1977 with the 911 Turbo 3.3 equipped with a charged air cooler. At 300 horsepower, it was the best in its class. In 1983, the naturally aspirated 911 Carrera superseded the SC with a 3.2-liter 231 horsepower engine. It became a favorite collector's item. From 1982, lovers of fresh air could also order the 911 as a cabriolet. The 911 Carrera Speedster, launched in 1989, was evocative of precious legendary Porsche vehicles. The 964 911, 1989 to 1993. Just when automotive experts were predicting the imminent end of an era in 1988, Porsche came out with the 911 Carrera 4. After 15 years of production, the 911 platform was radically revised with 85% new components, giving Porsche a modern and sustainable vehicle. Its air-cooled 3.6-liter flat engine delivered 250 horsepower. Externally, the 964 differed only slightly from its predecessors in its aerodynamic polyurethane bumpers and automatically extending rear spoiler. But technically, it was almost entirely different. The new model was designed to captivate drivers, not only with sporty performance but also with enhanced comfort. It came with ABS, Tiptronic, power steering, and airbags, and rode on a completely redesigned chassis with light alloy control arms and coil springs instead of the previous torsion bar suspension. A revolutionary member of the new 911 line right from the start was the all-wheel drive Carrera 4 model. The rear-wheel drive Carrera 2 came on the market just 6 months later. In addition to the Carrera Coupe, Cabriolet, and Targa versions, starting in 1999, customers could also order the 964 Turbo. Initially powered by the proven 3.3-liter flat engine, in 1992, the Turbo was upgraded to include a more powerful 360 horsepower 3.6-liter power unit. Today, the 911 Carrera RS, 911 Turbo S, and 911 Carrera 2 Speedster are particularly in demand among collectors. The 993 911. The 911 with the internal design number 993 remains the one true love of many a Porsche driver. The remarkably pleasing design has much to do with this. The integrated bumpers underscore the smooth elegance of its styling. The front section is lower slung than on the earlier models, made possible by a switch from round to polyepsiloidal headlights. The 993 quickly gained a reputation for exceptional dependability and reliability. It was also agile, as the first 911 with a newly designed aluminum chassis. The turbo version was the first to have a bi-turbo engine, giving it the lowest emission standard automotive powertrain in the world in 1995. The hollow-spoke aluminum wheels, never before used on any car, were yet another innovation of the all-wheel drive turbo version. The Porsche 911 GT2 was aimed at the sports car purist who cherished the thrill of high speeds. An electric glass roof that slid under the rear window was one of the innovations of the 911 Targa. But the real reason why dyed-in-the-wool Porsche enthusiasts still revere the 993 is that this model, produced from 1993 to 1998, was the last 911 with an air-cooled engine. The 996 911. The 996, which rolled off the assembly line from 1997 to 2005, represented a major turning point in the history of the 911. It retained all the character of its classic heritage, but was an entirely new car. This comprehensively redesigned generation was the first to be driven by a water-cooled flat engine. Thanks to its 4-valve cylinder head, it achieved 300 horsepower and broke new ground in terms of reduced emissions, noise, and fuel consumption. The exterior design was a reinterpretation of the 911's classic line, but with a lower drag coefficient of 0.30. The lines of the 996 were also a result of component sharing with Porsche's successful Boxster model. Its most obvious exterior feature was the headlights with integrated direction indicators, at first controversial, but later copied by many other manufacturers. On the inside, drivers experienced an entirely new cockpit. Driving comfort now also played a greater role alongside the typical sporty characteristics. With the 996, Porsche launched an unprecedented product offensive with a whole new series of new variations. The 911 GT3 became one of the highlights of the model range in 1999, keeping the tradition of the Carrera RS alive. The 911 GT2, the first car equipped with ceramic brakes as standard, was marketed as an extreme sports vehicle from the autumn of 2000. The 997 911. In July 2004, Porsche unveiled the new generation 911 Carrera and 911 Carrera S models, referred to internally as the 997. The clear oval headlights with separate blinkers in the front end were a visual return to older 911 models, but the 997 offered more than just style. It was a high-performance vehicle with a 3.6-liter flat engine that turned out 325 horsepower, while the new 3.8-liter engine of the Carrera S managed an incredible 355 horsepower. The chassis was also substantially reworked, and the Carrera S came with Porsche active suspension management as standard. In 2006, Porsche introduced the 911 Turbo, the first petrol-operated series-produced car to include a turbocharger with a variable turbine geometry. Model improvements in the autumn of 2008 made the 997 even more efficient, thanks to direct fuel injection and a double-clutch transmission. The 991 911. Internally known as the 991, this sports car embodied the greatest engineering leap in the history of 911. For generations, the benchmark in its class, this 911 generation set the bar yet another notch higher in terms of performance and efficiency. A completely new chassis with a modified wheelbase, greater track width, and beefier tires, plus an ergonomically optimized interior, produced an even sportier and more comfortable driving sensation. In engineering terms, this 911 was all about Porsche intelligent performance, even lower fuel consumption, and even more power, created, for instance, by reducing the engine size to 3.4 liters on the base Carrera model, and using a hybrid construction method, which led to a considerable reduction in weight. Also new, Porsche dynamic chassis control and the manual 7-speed transmission. The design of the 991 likewise met with high critical acclaim. With its low, stretched silhouette, its bristling surfaces, and precisely shaped details, the Porsche 911 Carrera, in the 7th generation as before, continued to be unmistakably a 911 and was thus once more setting new standards in the automotive design. In 2013, the new Targa was added to the 911 family. The latest generation of this extravagant 911 variant combined the classic Targa idea with advanced roof convenience. But unlike the classic 911 Targa, the roof segment could open and close at the push of a button. The fully automatic roof system stowed the Targa top behind the rear seat in spectacular fashion. The new 2015 Porsche 911 presented its position as the best in its class in terms of performance and efficiency. The development of a turbocharged flat engine gave the world's best-selling sports car a significant boost in power as well as considerably lower fuel consumption. The new 3-liter bi-turbocharged 6-cylinder flat engine developed 370 horsepower in the 911 Carrera and 420 horsepower in the 911 Carrera S. In both cases, this represented a power boost of 20 horsepower over the prior model, with just under 12% less fuel consumption. The 911 Carrera represented a quantum leap in innovation, featuring a sharp new look outside and Porsche communication management with a multi-touchscreen inside. Above all, however, the new 911 raised the benchmark considerably in the sports car world. More power, the enhanced Porsche active suspension management chassis, and optional rear axle steering improved the best time of the 911 on the Nürburgring Nordschleife to 7.30 minutes, 10 seconds faster than its predecessor, with an even greater lead over the competition. The 992 911. The 992 911, introduced in 2019, represents the latest generation of the iconic sports car. It builds upon the legacy of its predecessors while incorporating modern advancements and technologies. Here's an overview of the Porsche 992 911 and the plans to electrify the model. The 992 generation showcases a design that pays homage to the classic 911 while incorporating contemporary styling elements. It features a wider body, enhanced aerodynamics, and a more refined interior compared to its predecessor, the 991. The 992 911 offers a range of models, including the Carrera, Carrera S, Turbo, GT3, and more. The engines in the 992 are turbocharged, delivering impressive performance and efficiency. Porsche has continued to refine the driving dynamics, technological features, and luxurious amenities to elevate the overall driving experience. Recently, there have been rumors that Porsche plans to electrify the 911 model. The company has already made significant strides in the electric realm with the introduction of the Porsche Taycan, an all-electric sports car. The Taycan showcases Porsche's expertise in electric powertrains and sets a benchmark for performance and innovation. It is likely that Porsche will leverage this experience and technology to eventually introduce electrified versions of the 911, providing an eco-friendly alternative while maintaining the performance and driving dynamics that define the 911's DNA. But at the moment, we don't have any solid info about it. There you have it. From its humble beginnings to its awe-inspiring present, the 911 has mesmerized generations with its unmatched prowess and sheer audacity. Through the shifting sands of time, the Porsche 911 has remained an unwavering testament to the pursuit of automotive perfection. Each generation, like a chapter in an epic saga, has added its own unique brushstrokes to the masterpiece that is the 911. From the classic lines of the early years to the bold innovations of the modern era, the 911 has stood the test of time, an immortal icon bathed in the glory of its storied past.